Live? Hey guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We are live at the Ohio Courthouse. We are representing, or what do you want to say? I don't know, we're here to bring it to you guys. Here's the thing, they're trying to put forth a bill in Ohio that's going to be something, they're going to roll out something really similar all over the nation, but in Ohio it's SB 260, and it's almost it's a gun grab. And they're going to try to just pretty much ban semi-automatics and
open carry Patriots.
It's really encouraging to see. They've asked a lot of people to open carry. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to try to get as we can so that you guys can hear, and then afterwards we'll get some interviews and we'll plug in the mic. So we're just going to take you guys with us.
Number 8, if elected, would you veto all so-called mental health legislation that would deny law-abiding individuals their gun rights without due process through a court of law? That is something that they are talking about and considering right here in this building right now. They want to pass emergency red flags laws that would destroy gun owners' rights at ex parte hearings without you even being present to defend yourself. Unbelievable stuff. Will you veto that legislation?
Yes, and I have one thing to add. So my opponent has called for mental health professionals in all of our schools to assess and judge the mental health of our students for the sole purpose of keeping guns away from them. I don't trust government to do that. That is up to the parents to make those decisions.
So that's 8 for 8. Number 9, if elected, would you sign into law legislation to strengthen our state preemption laws with stiff penalties for violators like the city of Cleveland or the city of Cincinnati, these municipalities that are going out of control, that organizations like Ohioans for Concealed Carry have been forced to spend a lot of money litigating against? Will you put an end to that by putting teeth into our preemption statute?
Yes.
Now is the big question. She's answered yes on all this. Will you sign your name and date this thing?
Absolutely.
So the question being, are there any pro-gun candidates running for governor this time around? You got one right here.
Yeah!
I do not believe that arbitrary age restrictions solve any problems as it relates to the types of unfortunate situations we are seeing and tragedies we are seeing across our country. So to me, when you have an age restriction, it's arbitrary. It doesn't prevent or stop anything that it professes to prevent. Absolutely agree. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
Use this. Use that.
And by the way, Ohio gun owners promises to be an 800-pound gorilla in the
This is
districts
Mary
of any
Taylor.
politician
She's
who
Ohio's
tries to
lieutenant governor.
increase the
She's
age
running for
for
governor right now.
firearms here
That's
in
Mike
Ohio from 18 up to
who we're
21
listening
years
to
old.
right now.
An 800-pound gorilla. All right, so I'm trying to figure out. We're on a tight schedule here. Carolyn, you're gonna. Oh, all right. There she is. She's sneaky. Carolyn.
Well, I got through the first one, so let's try this again. I would like to introduce a gentleman running for U.S. Senate. His name is Mike Gibbons. Mike Gibbons has become a friend of Ohio Carry. Mike Gibbons believes in our Constitution, and he believes in our Second Amendment. And I'd like to hand the microphone to him. Thank you, Mike.
Hi, I'm Mike Gibbons, and I'm running for the U.S. Senate. The first thing you need to know about me is I am not a politician. businessman, I'm a conservative, I'm a gun owner, and I'm a proud defender of the Second Amendment. Over the course of this campaign, I've angered a lot of Washington politicians. I've angered them because I'm blunt and I'm not afraid to tell the truth. So I'm going to be blunt. The left wants to take away your guns. The media wants to take away your guns. The Democrats want to take away your guns. They won't tell you that. They're going to tell you they want common sense gun control. But I want to tell you something. They will not be happy until you are unable to defend yourselves. First, they're going to come and say, let's make AR-15s illegal. Then they're going to say, high-capacity magazines have to be illegal. Then they're going to limit the number of guns you can have. Then they're going to tell you that semi-automatic rifles are wrong and they need to be made illegal. Then they're going to take away semi-automatic pistols. The next thing you know, there'll be no handguns. Well, they won't stop, and we can't give an inch. And I will tell you this, they'll only ask for more, and what I'm going to say is no more. No more, not on my watch. Now that's pretty blunt, but I'm going to tell you the truth. The Second Amendment isn't about hunting. It's not about concealed carry. It's not about self-defense. The Second Amendment was written to preserve our rights to defend against tyranny. Our founding fathers wrote the Second Amendment in the aftermath of a war where farmers and tradesmen, ordinary citizens, won against the most powerful military force in the world. They wrote the Second Amendment so future generations of Americans would never feel the yoke of tyranny. The Second Amendment is not about hunting. The Second Amendment is about liberty. The proof is right in the Bill of Rights. Take a careful look. The First Amendment says Congress shall make no law to abridge freedom of speech. The Second Amendment says the rights of the people shall not be infringed. The Fourth Amendment says that the rights of the people shall not be violated. The government doesn't give us our rights. We always had these rights. The Bill of Rights doesn't give us our rights. Our founders knew that we were endowed by a creator with certain inalienable rights. Under my watch, the inalienable right to bear arms will never be infringed. I will never vote to weaken the Second Amendment. I'm running against a guy named Sherrod Brown. And believe it or not, he was the lesser of two evils at one point. Well, I think he is the evil. We're going to beat Sherrod Brown November. I'm going to beat Sherrod Brown November. I'm going to outwork him. I'm going to outspend him. And I'm going to outdebate him. On May 8th, I need you to go to the polls and vote for Mike Gibbons. I am proud to be here with real American Patriots, and thank you for having me.
Yeah.
All right, really quick public announcement. Stacy McIntyre, if you're in the crowd right now, your car is about to be towed. So, Stacy McIntyre, run your car.
All right, guys, we've got another speaker for you. Then we'll probably take a little break. Her name is Paige Seaman. She's a woman, she's a mother, and just has some opinions on Senate Bill 260. So here she is. Paige?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Columbus. You all look beautiful. I am very honored to be here with all of you today and to see my brothers and sisters come together in such a fashion. There are a lot of people. Thank you all for coming out and supporting us. We really need you, and we're going to continue to need you. And I'm a wife, a grandmother, and I'm honored to be here as an American Patriot woman. I'm here in protest for any legislation. Our current Governor Kasich said he would veto a stand your ground bill. But this is ridiculous in and of itself. For someone poses a threat to your family's life, we have this right, Mr. Kasich. Maybe he needs to be reminded of a thing called self-defense. Our Second Amendment was never meant to be regulated. We are out here trying to be law-abiding citizens, carrying by your laws, trying to be respectful of those laws, and where does it get us?
Yeah, sure.
Our rights are inherent rights, and they were never intended to be regulated, but they are, and were never intended. But they are trying to do just that, and most gunners I know are trying to be law-abiding, responsible. However, the criminals are not. Most gun owners I know aren't acting that way. I find it ironic that the legislative lawmakers have at their disposal the means to track, record firearm sale, and will simply change the way that we purchase our weapons. Then they will not have a clue how many guns, the brand, the make, the model we will have. Do they realize they have all their abilities, and they will lose all of that? They are going to lose all of that if they choose to make us choose where to purchase our firearms. And pardon the pun, but the level of thinking of these people, I say challenge accepted. And Halliburton can't build the jails fast enough. There's over 200 million gun owners in this country, and they already have an overcrowding problem. So, try if you must, but I know zero gun owners who are not just going to turn over their AR weapons if they are banned. Can I see a show of hands of how many people are going to turn in their ARs? No. This will never happen. We will not comply. If you would like to read about what Thomas Jefferson says about judicial tyranny, we must not have hope in our judicial system. Because he saw a long time ago where it was heading back in 1812 when he wrote a letter to C. Hammond. When all government, domestic, foreign, and little or great things shall be drawn to Washington at the center of its power, it will render powerless the checks provided by one government on another. It will become as venal and oppressive as the government from which we separated. Why do we keep and bear arms? According to Noah Webster, it is to prevent Congress from executing unjust and unconstitutional laws, to keep the federal government from becoming tyrannical and oppressive, and the people keeping and bearing arms should be superior to any force by Congress.
That's right.
To prevent their ability to exert their own power on a whim. Stand here today with you, amongst all my patriot brothers and sisters, to say again, we will not comply. Our families are not yours to control. Our children are not your property. Our guns are not your property, and we will not take on legislative or hand over our God-given rights away that our forefathers and veterans fought to secure for all of us. So be on notice. In these votes, you are classifying yourself to our lawmakers. I just want them to know that. So they better classify themselves because we are turning out. So be on notice. I encourage everyone here today to go home and read about Washington's prophetic vision. We need to be aware of many countless rights that are all being disregarded. And we must be vigilant, strong, and brave. And one more fun fact I'd like to add is that of the 130 mass shootings, all were by registered Democrats. So that's another fun fact we can go home and research. So I'd like to say, yes, You don't see them being regulated. You see them trying to fight against us and trying to take from us what was rightfully given from the beginning. Our forefathers knew that, but evidently a lot of our citizens do not. So we must keep trying to keep people awake, keep everyone vigilant, stay on your lawmakers. I have emailed and called I don't know how many lawmakers, and I've not received a single supply. Back from Mary Taylor's excellent speech. How about Mary Taylor? I think I found who I'm voting for. So thank you again, and thank you everybody to come out.
All right, yeah.
Hey guys, we're going to take a little break just to let everybody regroup and mix and mingle a little bit, but we'll be back in just a few. Thanks again for coming out, everybody. It means the world to us.
We used to have a YouTube channel.
So be patient a minute, guys. I'm going to try and plug this mic in, and hopefully we have more success than we did when we were at the Genesis movie. I want you to let me know if the sound is not good or it's not working.
No.
Let Kansas know in the chat.
So who you heard just a snippet of, we missed most of her speech, sorry, is Lieutenant Governor Mary Taylor. And she is running for governor against Mike DeWine, who I believe is our prosecutor, Hamilton County prosecutor.
Right.
And he recently got an F on the NRA gun rights rating.
I'm not sure how you get an F there, but
He's trying to work on it. He's trying to get his grades up.
Uh-huh.
But I say no. And Mary Taylor actually was in a room full of globalists, and they would not give her the nod for the Republican nominee, even though she's the lieutenant governor.
Really?
She was very upset. You're going to try to
I'm
fix my...
helping you.
Okay, she's trying.
So I think what I want to do, Kansas, is the volume okay? They can all hear? It doesn't have that beep, 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 beep thing? Do you guys remember that?
Beep, beep, beep.
I think what I want to do is... All right, very good. Is we're just going to probably try to grab a couple of interviews while we're in the middle of taking this break. If you guys have any questions that seem pertinent, shoot them to Kansas, and we'll see what we can get. You want to put that phone away? That way you're...
Well, you can
Just
hold
put
it.
it in your pocket.
It falls out.
Your back pocket?
It falls out.
All right. Okay.
All right,
now,
so-
what you have to do is you have to go close with Kansas. Here, I'll grab people.
I can grab people. Right here. You can just ask anybody with the gun what. How about somebody with the gun would probably be willing to be.
Would anybody here be willing to do an interview for our YouTube channel? Ian, you want to do an interview? Come on.
What's brought you guys out here today? What brought you out here today?
We support the Second Amendment.
You support
How did you hear about it?
Somebody stopped by the house and advised us
representing
that
Mike Gibbons?
Wow, and said, hey, they're trying to take your gun, so you might want to show up and represent.
well, sure. Said they were supporting. There was a rally to support the Second Amendment, so we just come down and
We wanted to hear from Mike
exercise.
Gibbons.
We think it's
what he had
important
to
that the
say.
boys understand the political process in the United States, and this is part of it. So
Well, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. You've got your Make America Great hat on.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you get any flack for that hat in school?
No, I don't usually wear it, but he does.
wears it every day.
You wear your hat every day.
Almost every day.
Do you get any comments from people?
I used to, but they've learned to.
They've learned.
Leave you alone. That is very brave of you.
just
So
doesn't care.
so you haven't been beat up or anything?
No.
Okay, that's pretty impressive.
So what part of Ohio are you guys from?
right here in Columbus, we live in Grandview, right next door.
Awesome.
So,
So you didn't have to travel far.
no, we could ride our bikes over here if we wanted to.
You've got a camo one on too. That's pretty impressive.
At my brother's, at his school, there were 3 anti-gun petitions at the door.
Tell me a little bit about that. So you're a high schooler.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's going on in your local high school?
There's a lot of anti-gun people in my school. So one of my friends texted me the day before, and he said, "There's some gun petitions. You should probably go in a different door."
Really?
Yeah.
Very very interesting. So were there any walkouts?
There's going to be one.
Are you the 24th?
No, on Wednesday.
Oh, another one. There's going to be another one. Are you going to walk out or are you going to stay in school?
I think I'm going to go to the range that day.
Okay, you're just going to skip.
Depending on his parents' blessing or not. But sometimes the thought of a 16-year-old varies a little bit from those of his parents. But we'll see. We'll see.
You might make more of a statement by sitting in school, with being the only one. Maybe they'll give you something fun to do, since everybody else will probably be gone. Is it mostly? Do your fellow students actually understand the Second Amendment, or do they just? Is it like kind of like go with the flow, everybody's doing it type thing?
Yeah, only a few actually understand the second. It's a very liberal school.
What's your name?
Ian McCormick.
Ian McCormick. Well, it was very nice to meet you. Thank you for giving us your time. What's your name?
I'm Seamus McCormick.
And what's your name?
Connor McCormick.
Oh, you've got some very vocal young men, maybe some promising senators amongst.
Well, we like to teach them that if they have a belief in something, they should have an educated viewpoint, and they should not be afraid to voice whatever their opinion is. So. Thanks. Well, good luck with your.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. You should give them a card so they can find themselves.
I gave Mom a card.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Can y'all hear me?
I'm not sure if this. I'm gonna have to unplug the mic, I think, guys, so that you guys can hear this.
John and me, you viewers, I mean, you always take priority over everything else.
Shut it down.
We appreciate
Hold it down
you
until
all
power's
watching
off,
what we
and then
do,
you power it back
and
up.
you made us whatever we are. I'm not sure what that is, but we appreciate it. It's great to be here, first of all, and with so many like-minded folks here in one place, so many cool guns. Looks like a really dangerous place, but of course we all know it's not, don't we? And as someone said earlier, it's probably the safest place in the country right now because these guns don't do anything we don't want them to do. And a lot of you, I've met a lot of you, and so I know a lot of you watch the videos. There's some of you probably out there wondering, okay, who's that guy? So you'll probably be sorry. You folks that watch the videos know I can ramble, so I'm dedicated. I am convinced I'm not going to do that today, and I made just some notes on the way up here. So if you see me not looking at my little scribblings here, you know I'm off into ramble land, so you can fire a shot off or something and remind me, get me back on. So I don't want to take too much time, but I did tell Carolyn I'd say a few words. Mainly just wanted to come up and be a part of it. And so now I have to be nervous about speaking to the group, but that's okay. You know, if you've seen the videos, not to expect much, right? Yeah. By the way, how many, do we have anybody from Kentucky here came up? Oh, we don't, okay. We got one or two? Okay. Did you get the VHS tapes I dropped off on the way up? Okay. I keep them supplied. But guys, it was fun coming up, and I came up early yesterday, got up really early, and hit a couple of gun shops yesterday here in town, and actually bought a gun, so it's your all's fault, it's not mine. If I had to come up here, it wouldn't have happened. You guys blame me all the time. I've had about 10 people blame me, or more than that, today already, for guns they have bought. Well, I blame you all for one I bought yesterday. I just can't stay out of gun shops. So again, I'm not a speaker, y'all know that. I just do stupid videos and stream of consciousness videos, uncut, unedited, and nothing slick. And maybe that's why people watch them, I don't know. But so you know not to expect too much. So some of you probably wondered who I am, and again, and all of you wondered maybe why I'm up here. I'm really nobody special at all. I'm not running for office or anything. And so no pressure on me. You know I'm not too smart, so there's not a lot of pressure. That's the only reason I was willing to get up here. But none of us really is all that special. We're just regular folks. We want to be left alone. We're patriotic. We go about our work. We go about our jobs. We're good to our neighbors. I mean, there's probably somebody in the crowd that's a little bit obnoxious, you know, but we won't mention any names, right? Hey! But there he is over there. He's going to admit to it. It's my brother-in-law, yeah. But I mean, really, guns are so mainstream now. I say that all the time. We all know that. Everybody seems like, not everybody, but so many people are into firearms, and you have date nights at indoor ranges, and
it's just so widespread that there are going to be some people that, that obnoxious brother-in-law, occasionally. Everybody is not going to be a good citizen, maybe, but I tell you, most people I have found, and I'm sure you all would agree, who are into firearms as a hobby and shoot or even get a carry permit or whatever, they tend to be just good people, don't they?
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
It's kind of cool. I mean, I see it over and over and over again my entire life. And then, of course, with this crazy YouTube thing, we have 3 million subscribers, and I hear from hundreds of people a day, and so I see the messages, even though I can't answer them all. And I mean, there's obviously a few obnoxious trolls around the internet, imagine that. But for the most part, it's just good folks looking for information, just like all of us here. And so it's a great fraternity. It's a great fraternity of people. We know that. Unfortunately, the gun banners don't know that. I hesitate to say the left and the liberals. I do use those terms sometimes. I hate to. We're in kind of a unique position where, with all the input we get and the people we're in contact with day in and day out, this country, around the planet, and you all know what I'm talking about, but I hear from people pretty often who tell me, hey, I'm a liberal, but I like guns, and I shoot, and I don't want more gun control. I really do. Some of you are probably surprised to hear that, but I do hear that a lot. And, it's hard to know how to react to that, because if you look at all the gun bans that are proposed, where do they come from? And I hate to slam Democrats, because I'm not into party politics. I lean libertarian more than anything. So I hate to get into party politics, and I don't want to criticize them for being a Democrat. The fact still remains, of course, that's where most of the gun bans come from. But again, we don't want to alienate some potential shooters and some little groups of people within, say, the Democratic Party, because I would love for a lot of those people to get into firearms. The more people from the left, quote unquote, who get into firearms, or Democrats, or however you want to phrase it, liberals, the better off we are. Because you know what happens once you get a gun, or you get several guns, then all of a sudden you have to be a little political, don't you? Because guess what? Here they come after my gun, And so that's got to be an enlightening thing for them at some point. And here I go, getting off the track. But anyway, the reason I thought I would say a word or two, I do have maybe a slightly unique perspective on things, not just because of the YouTube channel and being in touch with so many different people, a variety of people every day, but I was a teacher. Of course, that's a topic of conversation these days with the Florida shooting and others. I taught for 29 years, many of you already know that, and I was in middle school most of the time. It was always kind of funny when I was competing at shooting matches and things, and I did pretty well. I didn't win every match, but I did pretty well. And people who didn't know me would say, hey, what do you do? They expect me to say I'm a veteran, or I'm in the military, or I'm in law enforcement or something. So what do you do for a living? And I said, I teach middle school. And they would look at me, yeah, right, that's pretty funny. And they wouldn't believe me, And, but yeah, I taught middle school for about a quarter of a century in private schools, but middle schoolers are crazy no matter where they are, right? And that's how I got along, because, you notice the twitch and everything. I was crazier than they are, so it worked out pretty well. But anyway, I have experience in the classroom in those gun-free zones for almost 30 years, 15 of them post-Columbine. And so, of course, that was on my mind. I couldn't help it. I taught in a school that, even though it was a private school, but I guess it was much like, apparently, the Broward County School. It was upscale. I just left it 5 years ago. Lots of times that's where these weird things happen. It's not as often in the inner city. It's in good neighborhoods sometimes, and sometimes those are the kids who get the most twisted, But anyway, it was on my mind. I wasn't losing sleep over it, but you couldn't help think about it, especially as an avid gun owner. So here I am, a teacher, and one of the biggest gun nuts, quote unquote, on the planet. So there's a little bit of a juxtaposition, I guess. An English teacher of all things. I should have said that, now you expect me to use good grammar, but so, so I was kind of weird. I've always been a little weird, out of place, not many peers, I guess. Here I am, AR-15s and all kinds of firearms that I love to shoot. We okay here? And there we go. Gun owners are just good people. We help people out here. All right, he was just reacting to something I said that was so amazing there. But anyway, I do have that perspective, and I know I speak for you all. When Sandy Hook occurred, and then of course the Florida shooting, how many of you have kids, for example? A show of hands. How many have worked with kids or have kids, Sunday school or just whatever it is, part-time teacher? People who have never taught, who have never done that, they don't really fully understand it. The reason I came back to teaching after 10 years off, I missed it. And the reason I was able to do it for 23 years of my second stint was I just enjoyed it so much. You really get attached to the kids. Those kids you have in your classroom, day in and day out, they really do become like your own. That's not just a cliche. Any teachers out here? Let me see a teacher. We got a few teachers. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? They're like your own children. You get to know them. In fact, it's almost better. It's like your grandchildren because you get to send them home at the end of the day. You don't have to change diapers, or you don't, let the parents do most of the discipline, if they are doing any discipline these days. But you really get to know them. You watch them play sports. I used to drive as often as I could to go see them play their volleyball games and even the cheerleading competitions, the basketball, the football, talk with them about it the next day in class. And, you just get really close to them. And so when we see things like Sandy Hook and like what happened in Florida, if you have a heart at all, it just rips you apart. Whether you're a gun owner, or not, it's just, you don't even want to imagine what happened. You have difficulty going there. Now I know the gun grabber, the gun banners, they think that anybody that has a firearm today, especially an AR-15 or something, they don't have hearts. And we just value our fun over people's lives or something, But it's just not the way it is. You just don't even want to think about it. It's so horrible. And they just want to focus on the guns, of course, and they have their knee-jerk reactions, and and they want to talk about how dangerous the guns are. Well, I got a news flash for them, and that is that guns are dangerous. The AR-15 is dangerous, and it had better be. That's why we have them. The Second Amendment means nothing if these guns aren't dangerous. Duh. That's what it's about. And I've said many times through the years, the AR-15, there are probably firearms I enjoy more than the AR-15, even though I have 7 of them. I take them all for a boat ride every weekend on the Cumberland River, if you're familiar with Nashville. I do. Most of my guns go with me because I just don't trust leaving them at home. And I know that one weekend they'll all end up in the river, I'll capsize, and so I won't have them. So just want to get that on record. But they're meant to be dangerous, or we don't have a Second Amendment. If we don't have something we don't necessarily need a lot more than that. Look at Afghanistan. All the world powers that have tried to take them over. A bunch of characters in the mountains. You can't seem to do it, right? But it's mainly the deterrent. It's a deterrent. It's so that no one even thinks about messing with us too much, right? So there's nothing wrong with an AR-15 or an AK-47 in our hands at all. They are a deterrent. So while we focus on the silly things, the firearms, meanwhile the schools are not necessarily hardened up and made safe like they should be. That's my big thing. 3 weeks ago, 2 days after this happened, you might have seen my post on Facebook, every superintendent, school official, board member, whoever is in charge, budgets and all of that, should have been staying up late, burning the midnight oil, figuring out how they could get some money together, get it from us. I don't mind paying more taxes for that. And not at all. All the stupid uses of taxes, but that I'll pull out my wallet, get the schools safe. Whether I know the kids or not, I want them secure. They're forced to go to school. They should be safe in those buildings. So the first step, is just lock the barn. Don't let the cow, you got to take care of things. And that's a physical thing. Get some more armed security in there. Get the windows hard, the doors. Do it now. Hey, if a shooting happens tomorrow, for example, what's the day? Well, it'd be Monday or Tuesday. If it happens somewhere in the country on Monday or Tuesday, the media, I've seen some ABC and some media here, they need to run to the school board members in that district or that private school, whoever it is, they need to get them on camera that day and ask them, okay, where have you been? Florida 3-4 weeks ago and all the other events that occurred. What did you do last week and the week before to make your kids safer? Tell me about it. I want to start here. Okay, so here's the mic. Tell us what you did. We're just curious what you did after all of that. Oh, you didn't do anything? So we got to do something. And I'm gonna wrap up, but it just bothers me to no end that we're not doing anything and we're talking about firearms. So anyway, the main thing I'll leave you with is we just need to stay active as you all are and make sure everybody you know is being active on social media and everywhere you can, because it's awfully difficult to change the other side's mind. So we just got to make sure we're extremely active and we're voting for the right people. And we know why the Second Amendment's there, what it's about. It's not about hunting, and it's not about target shooting and all the things that I do. It's to protect, of course, the country and the Constitution, and we know what that's all about. And we're not diverted by all these discussions about how the AR-15 is no good for hunting, and it's all that silly stuff, right? So keep doing your part. John and I keep doing what we can, and everybody has their part to play. And again, I just appreciate y'all doing this and putting up with me talking, and appreciate y'all watching our videos. So glad y'all came out today. Thanks.
Give a big round. All right. Our next speaker. He has to get going right away, but I'm proud to introduce him as our next speaker. He is the joint sponsor on House Bill 201, the constitutional carry bill, with our other speaker who's after him is Representative Ron Hood. So this is Representative Tom Brinkman from District 27 down by Cincinnati. He's one of the good guys. Give him a big round of applause.
Thank you, folks. Appreciate y'all being here. Great crowd. Some folks have passed this little card out here. It's a comparison between Mary Taylor and DeWine. DeWine, lifetime F rating from NRA. And somehow he got the Buckeye Firearms endorsement. How do you think that worked? Maybe a little payoff there? Mary Taylor's been 100%er, and I can tell you when I served with her in the legislature, she's 100%. Everything she said up here is true, and that's the type of person we want there in governor. She didn't got the big money like the establishment's given DeWine. And, we'd like to have him out here today, but he probably couldn't make it up these steps. But anyway, his time has come and gone. He's been in there for 42 years. So, let's get some fresh face in there that can do something decent. Now, I've been thinking a lot about this Kasich gun ban that's coming. If you saw what he said, is he wants it to start in the House. Why does he want it to start in the House? Well, let me tell you a little story. 2 years ago, we had a great pro-life bill. It started in the House. We sent it over to the Senate. The Senate put something in there with a little tiny expenditure. It came back to the House. We voted it, and then the governor vetoed everything we put in it in the House out. That's why he wants this gun control to start in the House. He'll give us stand your ground. He'll give us everything we want. And then we send it to the Senate. And they'll put the gun control in with that tiny little expenditure. It'll come back to the House. We pass it because, of course, it's got stand your ground in it. And then he'll veto all the good stuff out. That's how it works. That's why we got to be vigilant. And if any of your legislators say, well, you know, it's just a little thing, say, don't you remember what happened to the heartbeat bill? Don't you remember how you got stabbed in the back and they betrayed you? Remind them of that. Because all that politicians care about is their pension and when they grow up one day to be a congressman or senator or something. And you keep reminding them of that. You know, we can take you out. We put you in there. Now I like the fact that I got into this game a little late, so I won't be one that gets all the pension money and stuff like that. And there are a few of us out there like that, because we come from the private sector. But there are a lot more that are in there. Again, all they care about is how do I get more years in the PERS, and how do I grow up to be a congressman or a senator or something else. So you got a lot of pull with these guys and gals by just keeping in touch with them, calling them. Go on that party website you have in your county and see where they're having those fundraisers and those spaghetti dinners and all that stuff like that, because that's kind of where they hang out with all their buddies. And just remind them, we put you there, we can take you out of there. And if you do that, that's what they listen to. That's the kind of music they need to hear. Final thing is, just like this car, take a picture of it and post it on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, any of that stuff. You know these videos, I know the guy up before me, I didn't even catch his name, but he told a kind of interesting story. There he is talking, and not listen to me, but that's all right. You know, people watch that stuff. They really do. So if you got a real interesting one of those signs that say, you know, have a picture of the Nazis killing all the people who they took the guns away with, post it up there. People see that stuff reverberates through the internet and through Facebook and all those things, and they make an impression. Don't underestimate the power of social media. It's not just all about the kids in Hollywood. It has a tremendous influence, and you know why? That's why Red Communist China is trying to shut it down among their own people, because they know how powerful it is. So when Chris Dorr gets up there and gives his little speeches, which I listen to, you know, that makes a big difference. A lot of people are paying attention to that. And don't hesitate to like it, because when you like it, somebody else gets it, and they may look at it. So remember that. Don't underestimate it. And the best part of it, it's free. It's got to click a few things. So anyway, I just don't want anybody here to leave discouraged. We're among great people. We know what's going on in the legislature, but we need your help to keep pushing the people who are waving and looking to be a congressman someday or want to keep that PERS running. That's where you come in, but you do have some great folks in the General Assembly who are also in there being that little angel on their shoulder and saying, you know, watch out. I was just there with lots of people who, they're going to remember how you vote on this. And if we work together, we'll be okay. So thanks a lot for you folks showing up on this beautiful day, and thanks, Chris Dorr, for putting this all together.
Oh, it's not just me, it's Carolyn right over there. Ivan's for concealed carry too. So Representative Brinkman has to get going. Before he does, the guy who is riding along with him, I wanted him to at least jump up and come up here, and I want to introduce you to all these people. But guys, this is the new vice chairman of the House Federalism Committee. This is where all the gun bills are. This is Representative John Becker. But this is one of the guys that you need to be in contact with on a constant basis, because they're sitting there with their thumbs on top of House Bill 201. These are the people that got to move it. That's the committee. And depending on how this leadership election shakes out, he might be the new chair of the House Federalism Committee. Anyway, say a few words for us, would you? Thank you.
Thank you. I'm John Becker, State Representative from Claremont County. Yeah, I fully support 201. All the gun bills that move the ball down the field in the right direction, and some of them take you all the way to the goal line to score, I support every one of them. I am all in. You know, something I want you guys to do is, you know, we're hearing a lot in the news about the school shootings and guns in schools. Start going to your school board meetings and ask the board members these questions. What are you doing to keep guns out of school? And if they say something like, well, we got a sign on the door that says no guns allowed, Ask them, how is that keeping guns out of school? And if they say something like, well, we got a see something, say something program. How is that keeping guns out of school? And if they say something like, well, we have an SRO. Well, you know, that's great, but, you know, logically, he's probably the first guy to take a bullet. Man, let's hope it never happens. Then, how are you going to keep guns out of school? Or what happens next? So, you know, and if they say something like, you know, we do ALICE training. Well, you know, that's great too. But again, how does that keep guns out of school? So the idea is they can put up metal detectors. Okay, that will keep guns out of school. But what happened in Connecticut? They had a brand new security system. Kid just shoots his way through a glass door, walks in, and then starts shooting anything that moves. The idea is you need somebody on the inside that can shoot back. You need to get that message to the school board. Thank you.
I want to give a real big, huge round of applause for this next speaker. This is Representative Candace Keller from Middletown. She is the joint sponsor on the Stand Your Ground bill, the Vitaly Keller Stand Your Ground bill. This is one of my favorite pieces of legislation ever, and I'm super proud to have her here to speak to you guys. Give her a big round of applause.
To your guns and religion. Good. Me too. I got to the House 15 months ago, and 19 days into my tenure, there was very few people willing to stand up on behalf of the unborn, and I spoke for the first time ever, not knowing what I was doing. And my very first bill that I dropped just after that was the bill stopping sanctuary cities in Ohio. Producer of Stand Your Ground, so I'm really popular up here. So, you know, it's really an honor to talk to these kind of people. This is flyover country. These are the people who elected Trump. These are the people who really matter. The bureaucrats, the lobbyists, don't matter. That's right. We matter. This is who matters. And so I'm a legislator who's a woman who stands for the Second Amendment. What does that mean? You know, nothing empowers women more than carrying. And so firearms protect me against offenders. My husband is not always with me. And so, you know, the left, they have a lot to say about the right to choose, you know, the right to choose. But the truth is, they want to take away from me my right to choose to carry. How's that for equality? It's not their job. They don't get to do that. It's my right as an American to keep and bear arms. That shall not be infringed. It's incredible to me. It's a right of my dignity as an American. And it is incredible when you get into politics, and I ran for office for the first time. I'd never run for anything in my life. Incredibly, I won. But how few people really know the Constitution up here. Now, in my opinion, I don't think there's a war on women in this country. That's just me. I think there's a war on men in this country. That's what I think. There is a war to disarm me as a woman. There is a war to abort. Half the babies are women. But there is no war on women in this country. We have great privilege. And so the government wants to deny me the right to defend myself, and that is not the job of the government. The Constitution was written to the government, not to me. Congress shall make no law. You stay out of the business of the people. That's what the Constitution is. And so they don't get to make that decision for me, because I was born with the right to carry. You know, the founders would have wondered why, in such a time of violence that we now live in, that right now is the moment that our Second Amendment right is under such attack. Because you know what? A month ago, we weren't really having this conversation. And all of a sudden, a 15-year-old on television who would just as soon be eating Doritos and playing video games wants to tell me that my Constitution needs to be changed. Really? We are not sheep. My father was a farmer, and he always taught me that sheep have to have someone in front of them. They follow the shepherd. If you get behind sheep, because we always had cattle, you can drive cattle anywhere. They'll go because you get behind them. But if you do that with sheep, they'll go everywhere. They have to follow someone. But we are not sheep. We do not follow everybody who thinks they're going to get on television and tell me what the founders knew was true, and that is, I was born with a right to protect myself. So Benjamin Franklin said, those who sacrifice liberty in search of security will have neither. And so while this theme of violence continues in our country, we need an armed, trained people. And that's what we are. We are armed, we are trained, we are not criminals. Anybody here go into a school and wreak havoc? No. We are the people. We are not criminals. And this is how we will be safe. We will continue to be safe. I want the prejudice against the Second Amendment to stop. And it has to start at the State House. I believe we're living in the most exciting time in all of history. I never wish to be born at any other time other than now, because the opportunity is so great for godly people to rise up and say, no, we're not aborting babies because they have Down syndrome. And you're not taking away our gun rights. And we won't have sanctuary cities in a state where more than 80% of the people don't want sanctuary cities. But there is gridlock, there is no question, and I know it now better than I knew before. We have to start respecting populism in this country. This president, Trump, is a populist. He follows the people. And our governor has let it be known he has no interest whatsoever in signing the Stand Your Ground bill. And here's my message for him. Here's my message for him. In 297 days, he is gone. Hell yeah. And I just got elected, so I'm here for 7.5 more agonizing years, I'm sure. We are not giving up without a fight. We will not be safe targets. An armed society is a polite society. Look how polite everyone is here today. And armed women make the world a better place. Gun control has not, will not ever save lives. And by the way, I know Kasich didn't like the bill, but I'll tell you who did like my sanctuary city bill. A guy named Donald Trump. So much so that I was at the Eisenhower Executive Office building yesterday meeting with Trump officials. And the president is tired of waiting on Congress. He's looking to the states to act on sanctuary cities. And Ohio will lead the way. We will lead the way. Gun control does not save lives, it takes lives. Registration does not keep guns out of the hands of criminals. Registration is a precursor to confiscation. We know this is true. Gun controls infringe on our inalienable rights. You know what inalienable means? It means it cannot be transferred or it cannot be discontinued. It is a God-given right. camo hats and the pickup trucks, we love you.
Amen.
And we're standing behind you and with you and alongside you, and we shoot just as good as you do. And long before men gave women the right to vote, we carried. We had guns and knew how to shoot them before we could ever vote and have a voice in government. But now we're in government, and we're not going away. And so we are not giving up this fight, and I encourage you to stand with us. This is all about the people. It's all about the voters. We're just up here filling a seat for 8 years, but we hear you, and we will stand our ground. Thank you.
So I'm going to introduce my state rep really quick, Representative Bill Dean. He's from House District, what are we in, 80 or 74? 74. He's from Xenia, but he's one of what we call the caveman caucus up here, the people who draw a line in the sand, say they're not going over, he's pro-life. I'm going to let him tell you about himself. Representative Bill Dean.
Good afternoon, it's great to be here, and pray the blessings of the Lord be upon you. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men were created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that in order to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. When any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter it or to abolish it and institute new forms of government. The first right that we have lost already is the right to life. We murder 1.2 million children every year. They are also trying to take away the gun rights so they can murder the rest of us. Patrick Henry said, "Guard with jealous attention the public liberty. Suspect everyone who approaches that jewel. Unfortunately, nothing will preserve it but downright force. Whenever you give up that force, you are ruined. The great objective is that every man be armed." Thank you.
Chris, am I good? All right, we have a young lady by the name of Remy that would like to speak to you. She's an 18-year-old young lady that loves her ARs. Remy, come on up.
Hi, everybody. So my name is Remington, and I'm the scary 18-year-old with an AR that our politicians are afraid of. A little over 18 years ago, my parents made the decision to name me Remington.
You get closer to the mic.
Wake
up, kiddo.
Sorry. So, a little over 18 years ago, my parents made the decision to name me Remington. Never envisioning that I'd be standing here in front of you today just after my 18th birthday at an event for our firearms rights. My parents were not super into guns when I was born. It's really just a happy coincidence that I was named Remington. Or maybe it was fate that brought us to this day. Over the next few years, my dad and I became avid recreational shooters, spending a lot of time enjoying the right to keep and bear arms. Of course, that was my dad's right at the time and not mine, yet. When I was 12, I got my Remington Target Master rifle. Okay. So when I was 12, I got my Remington Target Master rifle, which I still absolutely love to this day. Shooting the .22 was huge for me, learning how to aim it, how to shoot it, and how to load it. I was fascinated with how it worked, how to clean it, and how to use it safely. Then I got my PK-380 and I learned how to shoot a pistol. That was just the beginning. Well, of course, then I got an AR. Actually, if I'm being honest, I got several of them. even a 308 because somebody said they were in for free. I have trained in multiple pistol and rifle classes and even done some custom work on my own guns, like adding bling to my pistol and coating Maia or Tiffany blue. So here I am before you now with all these wonderful guns, but up until now they have all been bought through my dad. Before this year it was his right and not mine. Well, that's changed now, and I'm 18, and you can better believe I intend on purchasing more guns. I intend on using my rights with these firearms. I have waited a very long time for this day. I have worked very hard at learning how to use my firearms safely for defense and recreation. I will not stand by and have politicians decide that all of a sudden I can't buy a rifle. Do they want me to be left defenseless while they have armed guards at their sides? I remember from my government classes that this is a republic and not a monarchy. I will not be a victim just because some politician wants to be in front of a camera with an idea that sounds good, but in reality it makes no sense. Even worse, it doesn't do any actual good. I will not let them leave me defenseless in this dangerous world. I will not sit back and be treated like a criminal just because other people have made bad choices. I will not stand by quietly while they remove my God-given right as an American. Unfortunately, we live in a world where facts are secondary and scary words mean everything. Just because those words may scare some people does not mean my generation should be punished for the actions of a few bad people. I choose to stand up for my rights, and I choose to stand here today and ask you to stand with me and everyone like me who still holds the Second Amendment dear to their hearts. We must stand together to stop fruitless acts on our rights and freedoms. We must stand together and work on the problems we are facing and not demonize a gun for the sins of evil people. In the famous words of Charlton Heston, from my cold dead hands.
All right, well, our next speaker is Gary Witt. He's the Legislative Director for Ohioans for Concealed Carry. This group right over here. Please welcome him. He's going to give you a little update.
Thank you, Chris. I want to thank Carolyn, Chris, and Chuck for putting this on. What a crowd. What a crowd and what a day. I was sitting in a chair before the speakers started, and a woman come up to me and wanted to give me some Mike DeWine campaign literature. I politely refused and said, not with his record. She says, he's got an A record with the NRA. Well, I was listening to Mary Taylor talk, and I started thinking about that. I think, well, maybe I misheard her. Maybe she didn't say Mike DeWine. So I'm thinking about this and playing the tape back through my mind, and yes, she was saying Mike DeWine. So I had to ask myself, what planet is she on? I don't think it's the same planet I'm on.
Uranus.
You know, there were 8 school shootings in Ohio since 2003. We hear about Florida, we hear about California, but there were 8 school shootings in Ohio since 2003. 5 of those shootings were by people under 18 who could not legally possess a firearm in the first place. 2 were by adults and 1 was unknown. Now, we got some knee-jerk reactions in our legislature. Senate Bill 260 proposes a criminal analysis laboratory and mobile units. It proposes a firearm and transaction database. It defines assault weapons that fit the majority of firearms. What does Senate Bill 260 do that would prevent school shootings? Nothing. Nothing. What it would do is make felons out of most, if not all of us, for the weapons that we own. How about some real common sense things? How about schools enacting anger management classes for their students? As I go through the list of shootings, I see things like arguments escalating into firefights. How about teaching these kids, giving these kids the tools that they need to deal with life? Not deal with prime numbers. How about enforcing the existing gun laws that we have? Instead of passing new laws that do absolutely nothing but make some people feel good. Folks, Google Ohio Legislature. Go to the Ohio Legislature website, find out who your representatives and senators are. Get in touch with them. Find out what the bills are. We have bills out there besides Senate Bill 260 that are to restrict your rights. Fight those. Make your opinions known. Call people. Your voice is important and it does make a difference. I've seen it make a difference in bills that we have worked with. Call your folks. Thank you very much.
Well, I think I'm going to have to charge Gary for any damage done to this podium. I'm kidding, Gary. Powerful. Thank you, Gary. Gary puts out a lot of good information, man. We appreciate it. I'm going to move on now to Chuck LaRosa. He is a representative for Ohioans for Concealed Carry. They are a co-sponsor, so let's give Chuck a big round of applause.
Well, thank you, everybody. Ohioans for Concealed Carry was started in 1999 by a couple of guys gathering petitions at gun shows for Ohio to have a concealed carry law. This was achieved in 2004, and ever since then we've been fighting to expand gun rights for law-abiding citizens. We actively advocate for better gun laws here at the State House, and we have a history of winning lawsuits against municipalities who violate ORC 9.68 with their illegal gun ordinances. Our most recent win has been against the cities of Oberlin and Cleveland at the state Supreme Court. We also have our annual picnic in the park in Liberty Powell, Ohio, and our annual fundraiser, Fun and Gun, this year is at the Southwestern Ohio at the Clinton County Farmers and Sportsmen Association on April 29th. If you like what we do, come out and support us, please, and have a fun day. We shoot IDPA scenarios, and it's a lot of fun. With a recent school shooting in Parkland, California, the anti-gun has once again acted with their predictable knee-jerk response. They want to ban guns, long guns, short guns, handguns, ban 18 to 21-year-olds from owning guns, the list goes on and on. And there's hardly a word about securing the schools and making them safe. When our governor goes to work each day, he's protected by armed guards. When our legislators go to work in that office tower across the street or in this State House right here, they're protected by armed guards. Aren't our children more precious than our legislators? Shouldn't they be protected at least as much as our legislators, if not more? Why isn't their safety being considered? We need to ask this of our legislators. Instead of common sense protection for our schools, we get Senate Bill 260, which will literally outlaw every semi-automatic in existence, from AR-15s all the way down to little purse guns like a Smith & Wesson Bodyguard or a Ruger LCP. This is too ridiculous to even be considered. Yet it lives in this State House right now and will be going through the committee process soon. We need to step up and put an end to this nonsense, folks. I ask you to attend the hearings if you can. Write your senators and your representatives. Make your voices heard. Most importantly, vote. Contact your candidates, learn their positions, and educate them if necessary. get the word out about the good politicians and also get the word out about the bad ones. Our governor, who while running for office said he made a mistake in his single-handedly saving the assault weapons ban of 1994, and he signed every pro-gun bill that the legislature's passed in so far, has now said he will sign no more. He's throwing his lot in with the antis, and once again thinks that we the people have too much freedom and ought to be disarmed. That we should become subjects rather than free citizens. A free man goes armed. A subject does not. I claim my rights as a free man, as we all do here. It's time to stand up for liberty, one and all. Thank you for coming today. This is truly something to see. Let your efforts begin here, not end here. This is the beginning. Stay in contact with your representatives. Make your voices heard. Thank you.
A young man by the name of Jeremy reached out to me first and foremost. He called all the gun shops. He called every place. Hey man, can we get these flyers out? And we met him. He's helped distribute those flyers. He's done all kinds of YouTube videos and everything about this rally. I've asked him to stay on topic with Senate Bill 260 today and our gun rights, and I think he'll do that for me. So here's Jeremy.
You guys are all on Facebook Live. Say hi. I got friends in Ireland, Portugal, England, Canada, Mexico. They're all watching. There's something the Patriots like to do here in Ohio. On the count of 3, and we're going to do it 3 times, we're all going to yell freedom. You ready? Yep. 1, 2, 3. Freedom! 1, 2, 3. Freedom! 1, 2, 3. Freedom! That's how we do it in Ohio. I'm a product of the local community, but first I grew up in a small town in Meigs County, Ohio. And I grew up around guns. We had guns at every door, every window, kitchen table. We were farmers. So I grew up with a very strict discipline for firearms, a very, very big respect for what they are. 260 is, it's written for obvious reasons. Look, I believe that we have an enemy, and I don't believe in speaking about it on any other terms. No one is going to take away your right to defend yourself that is not your enemy, period. It doesn't matter if they're elected to a seat, it doesn't matter if they're elected to represent us. If they even entertain 260, they are the enemy of the American people, period. 260 is proof. It's absolute proof. I don't need to come up here with a bunch of exaggeration or hyperbole. It's proof that in our so-called leadership, in our criminal governance, which we've seen locally when it was Blackwell and CoinGate, we understand that we elect people that then commit crimes and work counterproductive to our freedom. For every person that's standing here today, we also understand that you represent more. You represent your family, you represent your friends, you represent your co-workers. All of us would rather on a Saturday be enjoying the time that we can spend with the people we love. It was our politicians that forced our hand to stand here today and say, just like you've heard other people say, you will not take it other than out of my cold dead hand. You will not infringe on these rights. These are rights that are given to us not by you, not some body of men. They were given to us by God. And by God, we will keep it and defend it. God gave his angels swords for a reason. Because you have to defend. And if we have to defend, if we recognize that position, then we have to recognize that we have an enemy. Now, I believe the people that have spoke here today. I believe them when they say that they will uphold our rights. I believe that. And I also know that it is our responsibility to make sure they do so. For a long time in this country, it wasn't fashionable for Americans to be politically engaged. If you were the guy at the social gathering talking about politics, you were ostracized. Everyone would give you that weird look. Now, we see that we're forced into the position that we don't have a choice. And with that, I want to read something to you. It's further evidence. Sorry, Facebook Live, hold on. They're all freaking out right now. Wet black, we can't see anything. I was speaking to a Jewish studies professor out of New York, a gentleman by the name of Stephen Levine. And jokingly, he said, "Do you know what Adolf Hitler said about gun rights?" I said, "No, I don't know the direct quote." I want you to think about this Senate bill when I read this. These are the words of Adolf Hitler. History shows that all conquerors who have allowed their subjects, races, to carry arms have prepared their own downfall by doing so. Think about that. He said if you allow the people that you govern to carry arms, and then you start to treat them like how we may be treated now, if they still have their arms, you've doomed yourself. It's absolutely right. If you haven't had a chance today, look around at the crowd, look around at the people that are standing here with you. These are free men and women, ladies and gentlemen. Free men and women. They will fight. Justice Felix Frankfurter said, "This is how gun rights are taken historically from every nation." I want you to ask yourself if this starts to sound familiar. They say heedlessly at first, and it looks like a positive, progressive idea. I want you to know this was written over 50 years ago. Then stealthily, they use it as a way to keep you safe. And then finally at the end, brazenly. Well, I gotta ask, when you look at this Senate bill, does it seem pretty brazen to you? Yeah, and maybe, if that's the case, then we're towards the end. We're past heedlessly, right? And we're past stealthily. They're not even trying to hide it. Ladies and gentlemen, my countrymen and women, I want you to consider you do have an enemy. They are working hard against you. They're not being stealthy. They're very brazen. And the fact that they would even write this legislation, I consider a traitorous act. I don't know if you're with me, but that's what I have to tell you today. Freedom, one more time, on three. 1, 2, 3. Freedom! Thank you.
I would hate to be the guy who has to follow that speech, so I'm going to pass the buck. And I'm going to call up here one of my good friends in the state of Ohio. As you all know, if you've watched our videos, you know that I haven't lived here very long. My wife and I only have one of our 6 kids that was born here in Ohio. But Ron Hood I've known for several years through various different connections. But Representative Hood has been introducing constitutional carry back in 1995 when it was not called constitutional carry, when it was called Vermont carry. But he's always been one of the stalwart pro-gunners here at the Ohio State House. I'm going to let him come up here and talk to you guys. Representative Ron Hood from Asheville. Get louder than that. One of these good guys.
It's great to see you all this afternoon. Thanks for being here. Thank you for making this the safest event in Ohio today. Thank you so much. We know how this works. More guns, less crime, okay? Less guns, more crime. We've seen the studies, we've seen the statistics. We've read John Locke. We know how this works. We know how this works. We saw how border counties in Ohio were much more dangerous because of the laws on across the border, and how criminals would, all they have to do is cross the border into one of our border counties, commit a crime, and then retreat back to one of the other states. So we've seen the evidence. We know, I'm preaching to the choir. I know you all know how that works. Well, when I was first elected to the legislature back in 1994, I was asked by several good law-abiding gun owners to introduce a permit system to allow us to carry concealed. And I started scratching my head a little bit, and I said, well, explain that to me. I said, well, we need a law where the government, where we have a procedure by our government that allows us to go in, talk to our sheriff, and say, hey, I'm a good guy, I'm going to prove that to you and issue me a permit to allow me to carry. And I started scratching my head and said, well, I can't support that. I said, I already have a constitutional right to carry. I said, wait a minute. Why would I go to my government for permission to carry? And besides all that, we already have a law where if I just open my coat, I'm legal, but I button up, and then all of a sudden I'm illegal. And how does that work? That's a coat tax to me. Okay, so I was asked to do this bill, and I said, wait a minute. I think I should be. I believe I should be allowed to carry without asking for my government's permission. And these folks told. Now, keep in mind, I was 25 years old. I was just elected to the legislature. I was as green as grass and wet behind the ears. You know what? I didn't know any better. Okay, and they said, well, Vermont. Well, you can do that in Vermont. I said, you can in Vermont? Okay. I would have expected a state like somewhere in the South or something, but I was kind of, so Vermont, okay. So Vermont, you have this freedom in Vermont. So I said, well, why don't we do a bill that's like Vermont? And they said, well, you mean you're really willing to do that? I said, well, of course I am. and that was the first time, that was my very first session in the legislature back in 1995. I introduced the Vermont, what we called at that time, the Vermont style concealed carry. And and then we even had our little stickers that said, I want Vermont, okay? And that's what we call it. And I thought, wow, well, we already have a state that has this, so why can't we pass it? Well, of course, this was back before we even had a may issue or a shall issue or a prohibition issue or whatever you want to call it. And so I introduced the bill. We had other bills going, and at that time we couldn't pass any. We couldn't pass any bill. We couldn't pass a may issue, a shall issue, constitutional carry, you name it. Well, then time went on, and then we started. Eventually, there was finally a shall issue bill passed in Ohio, but then they put a bunch of restrictions in it. And if you're charged with this crime, you're not allowed to carry, or if you've been seen with this person, you're not allowed to carry, or if you've been convicted of throwing a glass of water in someone's face, you're not allowed to carry. I mean, you name it. I mean, if you really look and understand the way the law works, there's all these reasons why you don't have a right to carry. So now, once again, I've reintroduced, this year it's called House Bill 201, along with my good friend, Representative Tom Brinkman from Cincinnati, who you heard from earlier. Once again, let's get constitutional carry. We have 12 states. We have 12 states that have already passed constitutional carry. So it's not just Vermont anymore. And yeah, now we call it constitutional carry. That name has evolved, I guess, for the better over the years. And I have introduced that bill in every single legislature that I've been elected to. I will continue to do so until we finally have constitutional carry in the state of Ohio. The problem, though, is while we're trying to go on the offensive, then all of a sudden something like Senate Bill 260 pops up and in order to put us back on the defensive again. And now that is the critical time right now is that we not only defeat that bill, but any other bill that comes up that is going to take away our gun rights. Now let me tell you, I've been interviewed by the media numerous times over constitutional carry, more than I can care to ask. And I'm asked all the same questions. Well, aren't you worried that someone's going to use that gun to commit a crime? I'm like, or aren't you worried that someone's going to shoot up a school, because we've seen that? Or aren't you worried someone's going to shoot up a cafeteria or a McDonald's? I said, wait a minute here. I have the answer to that. If we would just, I don't know why we haven't done this in Ohio yet, because other states I think have done this. If we would just pass a law making murder illegal, then maybe we could all sleep at night and realize we don't have to worry about anyone getting murdered anymore. You know, if we would just pass a law saying a 15-year-old psychotic nutcase that happens to steal a gun, you're not allowed to shoot up a school. Well, gee, if we just passed that law, then we would all feel much safer. I said, wait a minute here. What criminal? I know what it is. No, here's what we need to do. You know those little signs on the businesses that say no guns allowed in here? If we would just pass a state law mandating that those signs be bigger, then the criminals would see them, and then we wouldn't have to worry about people taking guns in places they shouldn't be taking guns, right? No. Once again, think about this for a minute. How many laws against law-abiding citizens are going to change what criminals do? None, absolutely none. But every time we have another incident where someone does something that's just, and quite frankly, it's because this nation is turned against God is the reason why this stuff's going on. Okay? That's the reason. So if we don't fix, we have a spiritual problem in this country. If we don't fix the spiritual problem, we're going to continue to see this go on and on and on and on. So let's get on our knees. Let's get on our knees and pray to God that He has mercy on this nation, that we turn back to Him. That's the answer to what's going on. Because I had a legislator once tell me, you know, these instant check systems are really working. We had a few thousand people that were denied on an instant check system. I'm like, whoopee! I can pillow my head at night now knowing that every single one of those criminals that were denied in an instant check system, and some of them might not even been criminals, they were probably just unfairly denied. But every single one of those criminals that actually should have been denied, we now never have to worry about them getting a gun by any other means again. I mean, we can all feel safe that there's no other way to illegally obtain a gun. So here I am. Here I am. Let's assume I'm dealing. I'm standing here. I'm dealing with the criminal here. He wants to cause harm against me. So, but he's on his way to shoot me or kill me or whatever he wants to do. And he's halfway to my house and he has to turn back and go back home because he forgot his permit. How in the world is he going to legally get to my house and cause havoc without it? It's illegal, so he has to go back and get his permit before he can do that. I mean, what criminal thinks that way? And you know, I feel so, it's such a tragic, these people that lose their children and lose their relatives and lose their loved ones in these acts of violence, and then they come out and they call for gun control. I weep for them. I mourn for them. I know they're going through pain. We need to pray for them. We need to ask God to supernaturally touch them. But passing more gun laws is not going to make us safer. And we know that. We know that. We already know that. We need statesmen that will stand up in all 50 states and around the country and in Congress and make it absolutely crystal clear that Guns are not the problem. The problem is we are a nation that has turned against God. We have turned our back on God. We have said we can do it our way. We don't need God. We can do it our way. And now we are facing the consequences. We took prayer out of school. We take prayer out of the public square. And what happens to our children? They are spiritually bankrupt. And that is what we're seeing. And that is what we're seeing. Leave the law-abiding citizen alone. Let us have our firearms so we can defend ourselves. And yes, defend the children of those who don't believe we should even have arms. But it is up to us. It is up to us to have faith in God that He will give us the strength to fight and endure. And this fight passes on from generation to generation. We don't fight a battle politically and say we've won, and then we go home and we celebrate. Freedom, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. And we will have to fight. We have to train our children to fight and our grandchildren to fight, and on and on and on, from generation to generation, if we're going to keep the Republic free. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you today.
All right, that was fantastic. Our next, I think we got one more speaker before I'm gonna try to throw a few words together. But this is the other joint sponsor on Stand Your Ground Law. He's a rock solid conservative. He's also the one of the joint sponsors on the life conception bill, which I'm also pro-life. But Representative Mia Vitale.
I had a decision to make today. Am I coming here or am I going to the IDPA match? I know. The problem is if I don't come here and you don't come here, then there is no IDPA match, right? That's what we're facing. Okay, thank you. You know, it's tough to do cleanup. You guys have all heard it before, so I'll try to give you a few new things to think about. As some of you know, I'm an NRA instructor, concealed carry instructor. My son's Ohio's youngest pistol instructor in the state of Ohio. We teach about 300 to 400 people a year, and I'm one of those people who doesn't like the fact that you have to come to some schmuck like me and get a license to carry a gun. Why? It's, as many have said before me, it's our constitutional right. And what we have to realize with whatever bill we come up with is people have been killing people for a long time. Anybody know the first one? There you go, Cain and Abel. I knew this crowd would have it together. So, just a quick word about that Second Amendment. There's been a lot of heated discussion about that. And as you know, it's part of the Bill of Rights. Representative Dean mentioned Patrick Henry, who is my absolute favorite, a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, shall not be infringed. Now, as you know, that's part of the Bill of Rights. Patrick Henry and his gang, the anti-federalists, who I would consider myself one of today, said, we're not going to sign that Constitution because we think that crazy general government in Washington, D.C. is going to get too powerful. Think they were right? They were right on the money, right? So they came up with these 10 amendments. First 5 words, Congress shall make no law. The right of the people shall not be infringed. So when somebody says to you, Congress has got to do something, what do you think they should do? Congress shall make no law. The right of the people shall not be infringed. It's simple. It's not one of the enumerated powers. And anybody who thinks anything different doesn't believe in the U.S. Constitution and how this country was founded. So keep that in mind. Now, if California wants to ban AR-style rifles or New York wants to have their crazy 6-round limit, let them, but I don't want to live there. Okay? It's a states' rights issue. And that's why we are here today. Let's talk about Ohio. our Constitution, which is where this resides. Right up front, Article 1, Section 4. This is like barely 50 words into the Ohio Constitution. The people have the right to bear arms for their defense and security. Second Amendment tells Washington, hell no. That's what the Second Amendment does. It says it's not in your purview. Our Constitution here in Ohio says we have the right. It grants us that right. So the people who do write these bills like 260, they're going against the Constitution that they rose their hand and said they'd swear to uphold. Here's some problems in Ohio's law. I have 5 boys. I have a rule about being a father. You must be present to win. You gotta be around. You gotta be with your kids. You gotta be teaching them what's right and wrong, right? The family is our smallest and best form of government, period. Not this place. Certainly not the place on the Potomac. I call it Mordor on the Potomac. So, I take my kids where I go. I go get gas, I walk into the Quickie Mart with my 4-year-old, gunfire breaks out. Well, I got my Glock 19 on me, but according to Ohio law, I have to somehow scoop up my 4-year-old and try to run to some escape in the back of the store, because we have a duty to retreat in Ohio. Really? Well, what if it's a law-abiding concealed carry holder that defends his kid or stops the killing of other people? Right? I'll give you a stat about that in a minute. So, I'm not one of these political types. I've only been doing this for 3.5 years. We make brake parts, and I work at a factory in Urbana, 45 minutes from here. And, you know, I thought all Republicans were pro-gun. What I realized is that they should remove the D and the R next to the name and put L for loser until they prove otherwise. Patrick Henry said, guard that liberty with preciousness. And I'll tell you, it's more true today. That's why you're only seeing, what, 3, 4, 5 legislators here today? Where's the rest of them? Yeah, they're at lunch, eating something, I'm sure. 99 members of the House, 33 in the Senate. Where are they? Where are they?
They're not defending the Second Amendment, that's for sure.
They're not defending our right to protect ourselves and our children, that's right. I've tried to make amendments to the floor to change some of these laws. Leadership and other Republicans call themselves pro-gun and pro-conservative. They've tried to bully me. They've tried to come up to me before the floor vote and say, please don't offer that amendment. We'll work it out. We'll fix it in the Senate. We'll do this, we'll do that. And then nothing ever gets fixed. I stand up on the floor, I try to make amendments, they don't call on me. That's how much they care about our personal protection and our gun rights.
Hold a copy of the Constitution up!
Thank you. Even my rights are infringed in this house, your house. Our governor has said he won't sign our Stand Your Ground bill that Representative Keller and I have written, along with Ohio gun owners. Why not? It's in perfect alignment with the Ohio Constitution. You know, the Constitution that Governor Kasich said he would uphold, and he's turned into a traitor to us. This building behind you.
That's sedition!
Yeah, amen. This building behind you, criminal protection zone. That's what I call them in my classes. You paid for it, your taxpayers paid for it, and you can't go in that building with a firearm.
Not my grandchildren, not my grandchildren!
Stand your ground.
I obey the law!
15 of the 66 Republicans in the House signed on as co-sponsors.
Make them obey the law!
15 out of 66. Don't forget that number at Election Day.
I'm done with it!
All right, lots of people have talked to you about criminals and what happens. There's a recent study that I read. When these cowards go into these criminal protection zones, I bet you didn't hear this, so Colorado, remember the theater shooter? Not only did he pass one theater that was closer to his house, he passed 2 theaters that were closer to his house to go to a 3rd theater that was posted, right? Gun-free zone. I can't believe they don't follow that sign, right? As Representative Hood said, it's just too small. I'm sure that's the problem. He passed 2. Why? Because he knew there wouldn't be people there who could protect themselves. 3 things happen when these crazies, with their fantasy about going and killing a bunch of people, when gunfire comes back at them, they run, which means they stop killing people. They surrender, which means they stop killing people. Or they kill themselves, which also means they stop killing people. See, the real studies show that when law enforcement, God love them, they can't be anywhere. They can't be everywhere, right? Law enforcement's minutes away when seconds count. That's what I tell people in my class. That's just the way it goes. They cannot be everywhere. They do a great job. And they're running toward the fire when most people are running against. So please respect them. But here's a stat you should remember too. When law enforcement shows up at a critical incident, a shooting, the average death toll is 15. When a concealed carry holder is present and engages the shooter, 2.5. I know you've heard this one before, but I'll close with this. As these school shootings happen, we don't have a gun problem. We do indeed have a God problem. The liberals, which exist in both parties, have destroyed our families, demeaned fatherhood, and stripped those offensive 10 commandments out of our schools and government buildings. So the liberals have replaced things like thou shalt not lie, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not kill. And now what we have is the sound of babies screaming in their mother's womb as they're killed, and the sound of gunfire in our schools. Are we teaching virtue in our schools or vice? As for me and my house, we will protect and defend these documents as the rule of law. And most importantly, I will continue to protect your right to protect yourself and your family. I'm not going to let a few criminals and criminal acts dictate our right to bear arms. I'm not about to let gun-grabbing liberals take our guns, so the only people who have them is the government and the bad guys. Stay safe, carry on, God bless you.
All right, I think I'm the last speaker. You'll have to go out on a low point. I hope not, anyway. But for those of you who don't know, our booth is right back there. Our freedom level memberships that come with the T-shirts are instead of $75, they're $50 today. But I'm gonna get into my speech here. I'm Chris Dorr. I'm the director for Ohio Gun Owners. I moved here a couple of years ago. But I got to tell you, being around hundreds and hundreds of law-abiding gun owners like you makes me very encouraged for the prospects of killing this gun control bill and the myriad of gun control bills that have been proposed behind us here by these people. It's very encouraging to us. But folks, if you read our emails, you already know what's going on. Gun owners like you and me and tens of thousands of our friends that couldn't be here today, we're getting trampled on. We're getting trampled on. Gun owners are not respected in this state house. You know, when Bloomberg and his militants in our state house behind me here introduced bills like Senate Bill 260, which would ban nearly every modern firearm that you can think of, you guys have already been told that. House Bill 395 by Representative Patman, which would ban rubber bands and other bump stocks, other trigger activating devices, literally would ban rubber bands. Or any of the host of gun control bills about to be introduced by Representative West. Gun grabbers are testing the wire. They're testing the metal of law-abiding gun owners like you and me. But when Governor Kasich partners up with Republican majority leadership in both chambers of our General Assembly behind a six-pronged gun control bill that is going to serve as the basis for what their gun control will look like going forward, which means they will amend it to look like a Christmas tree with gun control bills added onto it. These are great big slaps across the face of gun owners like you and me, the very people who gave them the power and the majority that they are using against us. And like we've been saying, the days when gun owners are told to sit down, shut up, get on the back of the bus and vote for this team or that team, those days are over. They absolutely must be over. Team Democrat. Team Democrat has been on the warpath against gun owners in their party since the Clinton regime, and of course, during the Obama debacle, they call it presidential administration. They've been working overtime to expel the gun owners from their ranks. But now the Republican wall that was built on the backs of law-abiding gun owners like you is buckling under the pressure of the fake news media and the establishment. But we knew this day would arrive. It was only a question of when, as President Trump once said. That's why we started Ohio Gun Owners 2 years ago, looking around the nation at some of the states that have passed gun control, states with large rural populations, but with major metros that dominate the legislative policy. And I'm thinking of states like Oregon, Washington, Colorado. The one thing that they had in common is that gun owners were not feared at election time. They were not a well-organized political fighting force that these politicians knew would hold them accountable at election time. That's right. That's exactly right. And the old model of doing gun rights activism is tired and it's worn out. The days of a couple guys from a couple gun groups going to the State House and making friends with everybody, and then hoping those friendships will hold fast when our gun rights come under blistering attack, it's a recipe for failure and disaster. The days of leaders from gun groups going to the State House and making deals with anti-gunners, watering down the good gun bills like they did to Ohio OFC's House Bill 142 earlier this year, in an effort to appease the gun grabbers, the trial lawyers associations, all the lobby special interest groups in here. Those days must be over. In fact, that model has only served to encourage and embolden the anti-gunners in this State House to take bigger swings, to ramp up their attacks on our God-given right to keep and bear arms. The only thing that can stop Bloomberg's gun control machine is you, all of you. The only force strong enough to save our Second Amendment rights is us, the law-abiding, God-fearing, freedom-cherishing, Second Amendment-loving people of Ohio. And that's what Ohio Gun Owners is all about. We are building a grassroots army of gun owners across our state. We are engaging a whole new generation of gun rights activists using every tool at our disposal. And we must be doing so because the Bloomberg Brigade, the Brady campaign, the Lion Mommies at Moms Demand Action, as my good friend Jeff Smith first named them, and all the Soros-funded think tanks, they are all doing the exact same thing right now. They're all building a grassroots army to try to bring down our Second Amendment. And we'll be damned if we let that happen. So we're mobilizing an army too, and we have been now for 2 years. We're using the old methods of direct mail, letters to the editor, and radio ads, of course. But we are steeped in the digital age of social media, messaging people via email, Twitter, and of course Facebook, and pretty soon even Instagram. And we're targeting people from a very young age because we've seen in the last few weeks, as we've seen, the radical left is hell-bent on poisoning the minds of our youth and turning them against the very law-abiding gun owners that are the very cure for these problems, for these shooters. If you're not already a member of Ohio Gun Owners, please go over there right by the booth and sign up to become one today. Join with us, get active, get mobilized, and we're going to keep you guys informed. And that's our job. Our job is to let you know exactly, working with our inside champions like Representative Vitale and Representative Hood, who are just here. Oh, there they are, right down there. Let you guys know what is going on behind the scenes, because for far too long here at the State House, these politicians, these people in charge, they want gun rights to be about what they allow to happen. They want politics up here to be relegated to under the dome. They don't want the real story out on social media. They don't want the masses, the dirty, hairy, unwashed deplorables like us to know what is going on. And that's why we're working with these pro-gun champions on the inside, because we need to externalize everything that happens in this cesspool. And it's our job, especially at election time, to let you know what your rep or your senator has done for you or refused to do for you. It's our job to let you know what their record is at election time so that you can hold your politicians accountable. And you know what? By creating this unbreakable connection between the legislative season and what happens during the election season, you know what's going to happen? I'll tell you what's going to happen. When there are political careers lying in the gutters of Ohio history after election season is over, gun owners will finally begin to be feared again in the state of Ohio. That's what needs to happen. And if you are feared in politics, you are respected. That's how we're going to stop this gun control. We're going to stop, block it, and kill it by mobilizing the grassroots against it. Long term, this is our only chance at saving our freedoms that have made this country so great. Again, we have a membership special going on back there, our freedom level memberships that come with our t-shirts that I see. There's quite a few of them out here now. They're normally 75, they're down to 50, but stand with us. Guns are not the problem. Heck, look at all these guns. I've seen some incredible short barrel rifles here today. Carolyn is packing an awesome shotgun. Ah, she gave it away. Woo! But I don't see a single gun out here trying to get away from its owner and go on a shooting spree right now. Not a single one. Not a single one. Guns aren't the problem. In the hands of law-abiding, peaceful Ohio gunners like you, they are the solution. You know, for the last several years, Ohio gunners have been saying that, or for the last several days, we have been saying that today's event, and you guys have all seen it, you've seen the choppers in the air, you've seen the media walking all over the place. Today is about the optics. Today is about countering the rally that we know is going to happen 2 weeks from today when Bloomberg, and you probably all saw this in the Washington Post, but when Bloomberg rolls out his red carpet, rolls out his big checkbook, and buses people in here from all over the state to have a Lion Moms Demanding Action rally here in just 2 weeks. Today is about countering that. Today's about countering their, it's about telling them that gun owners are no longer willing to water down the gun bills or compromise in order to get a win, and that happens all too often here at the State House. Legislators go weak in the knees, they put a lot of effort into a piece of legislation, and all of a sudden, they're asked to gut their own bills, and sure enough, they do it. Today is about telling the legislators inside this building that, who, because of the actions of a few madman killers, want to punish law-abiding citizens who only want to protect themselves and their families. It's about telling them, hell no. Today is about the optics of telling the legislators in this building, if they think they're going to pass this gun control, they're going to have to come through us, you and me. So if today is all about the optics, all I can tell you is this: mission accomplished and well done. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for coming out here today. We were blown away by the success, and I'm so happy to meet so many of you. God bless you all. God bless Ohio, and God bless America. Thanks a lot, guys.
Once again, we would just like to say thank you to each and every one of you. I'm not going to follow these speeches. I'm just going to say thank you. But if you're interested, we have a t-shirt over here that says Rally for Your Rights 2018. They're 20 bucks. It helps Ohio Carry pay for this. So if you'd like to have one, they're right over here. If not, we know you love us. Just enjoy your day.
Okay.
Hey guys, you're still with us. We thought about stopping the stream and then restarting, but we decided we're just gonna keep it. We'll cut it. We'll cut it up, and when we get home. What brought you out here today?
I'm just supporting the Second Amendment.
That's awesome.
We're here now.
As a matter of fact, would you like to say a few words to our YouTube viewers?
Oh, no, thank you.
Really? Oh, come on.
No, I don't like to put my face out.
All right, we won't put your face out there.
Thank you.
You guys, the turnout here today was absolutely amazing. Come here, Chris.
Chris was able to join us.
We have Chris Holman here.
Hello, everyone.
If you guys aren't subscribed to Chris's channel, we want you guys to be. We're going to meet back up with Chris
For the folks that are still
at the
here,
end after we do some interviews. But for right now, we want to go ahead and get some interviews. He's going to pray first, and then we will do some interviews. The sun is falling, and it is getting chilly. I like that they're ending in prayer.
Care to join me? Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for the grace and the blessings that you give us. Thank you for our strength that you give us. We pray that you would touch the lives of everyone that was here today. We also pray that you would touch the lives of the people in leadership positions that would seek to work, counter our freedom, and counter the love that you give us. Lord, we pray to be safe when we go home today. We pray to stay safe and that you would stay with us. We thank you, Lord, for everyone here. And we thank you and pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
It was definitely a Christian-themed event today. I was highly encouraged. I felt like we went to church.
I did feel like we went to church. Absolutely.
And what I absolutely love is if you pan around, you see all these people open carrying their guns, and this is the safest place to be in all of Ohio today. But what I really loved was the legislators who were pro-life.
Yeah.
Pro-gun means pro-life.
Yeah.
Pro-Second Amendment means pro-life. And liberals will rip out babies out of a womb, but they don't want you to carry a gun to save a child.
I absolutely agree. It was really encouraging to see the faith. You know, I love the people that scream, they love God, they love their country, and then the swear words come out. It doesn't really matter. It's the heart. It's the heart of people. So, here, Lee, you want to take this, and I'm going to we'll try and grab some people. Would either of you guys be willing to do an interview for our YouTube channel?
Yes. What channel is it?
We're Resistance Chicks.
Sure. Resistance.
Yes.
You do it. All right.
All right, so what brought you out here today?
Just to make sure that, one, they know that we're not going to give up our firearms. Our firearms, our Second Amendment, our freedom of speech is paramount to our freedom.
Right. Amen.
And these congressmen and these political individuals that are lobbying for gun control, it's un-American, it's unconstitutional.
All right.
And no, we should not stand for that. Our guns and our speech is what keeps us free.
Right.
And freedom is what this nation was built on.
All right.
We have the right to defend ourselves, our families, our lives, our nation if need be.
From a traitorous government and traitorous government officials.
Right. From a dictatorship government, a tyrannical government, anybody that wants to harm us, we should be allowed to be just as prepared as they are.
And to defend your individual liberties. I don't know if you guys know this, but medical freedom is in question in a lot of states around the country. And that's your personal bodily autonomy. That's your individual liberty. And the Second Amendment gives us the ability to defend ourselves from the state intervening and saying, you have to have this medical procedure, or your child has to have this medical procedure, or we're going to assume ownership over your child. We're going to say, we're going to come in and say, we are the parent. We get to make the rules. We get to make the choices and assume those risks. And if your child is injured or damaged by that, then you have to live with that. But we get to make that decision, and God forbid you stand against us. A lot of people don't understand that when we say come and take them, there's going to be a group of people that they send to come and take them, whether it's your gun or your child, or to force you into submission.
Yep.
This is why it's a God-given right. because
Second Amendment protects them all.
the Second Amendment protects the liberty of the people from the tyranny of government overreach. And it's not just for one reason. We're not just plinkers. We're not just, there are many of us who do enjoy going out and shooting and plinking, but the main thing is that we're concerned for our families and the generations ahead. I think it was Washington said that freedom can be lost in a single generation. And we are experiencing that today.
All right.
Very well said.
Are you all from Ohio? Or did you drive in from somewhere else?
I'm from Ohio.
Lake County.
Lake County.
Lorain County.
Lorain County.
Cuyahoga County.
Cuyahoga County. Claremont County.
Hey, bud.
That's us.
I'd like to talk to you. What's going on? My name's Ryan.
All right. Thank you guys.
No problem.
Do you want to hand him a card?
Well, they're talking, but we can.
Hey, can you guys throw a spot out for House Bill 193 too?
Sure. What's House Bill 193?
House Bill 193 is a House bill that creates personal autonomous freedom for employers of their for employees of their employers. So I don't know if you guys know anybody who might be in the medical field or profession. It's very common in that field that there are employer mandated vaccinations like the flu vaccine.
Okay.
And a lot of people suffer adverse reactions from those. And my wife actually has 2 heart conditions from the Gardasil vaccine, the HPV vaccine, okay? So severe heart condition, she's gonna have to have surgery, she has to have lifelong medication. It's not a small thing. And it's not fair for your employer to coerce you into receiving a medical procedure that you do not give informed consent to or threaten you with the loss of your job. So Christina Hagen sponsored this bill.
Christina Hagen, she's that young, she's running, isn't she running for the House now?
Yes, absolutely she is. She is a Spitfire conservative, and she also is a strong supporter of individual rights. So check out that bill, learn a little bit more about it. There have been several attempts this year of the Department of Education and the House to circumvent existing laws that are there to safeguard our medical autonomy. They tried to go and change forms, get in touch with the Ohio AMF, Advocates for Medical Freedom Group. They're very, very active here. And just stay informed because this will directly impact your children and your rights.
That's fantastic. Thanks for that. That's awesome.
I agree more. Here, you can find that later.
Thank you so much.
So great. Yes.
Thank you so much. Yes. It's nice to meet you. I'm Leah. This is my sister Michelle.
Yes,
we do all things pro-Constitution on our YouTube channel.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about what brought you out here today. What made
your
you?
amazing speech.
Yeah. Oh, well, I felt a duty that we had to come out here and speak on this because we have to let our lawmakers know that we are paying attention to everything that's going on. We're not going to let another day go by where we're just sitting back. We're actually going to be coming out and getting active.
All right.
I love
Yes.
it. I like your RIP Lavoie there.
Yes, Lavoie.
Oh, yeah.
Schaefer Cox are political prisoners. We always support them and make sure the public knows what's going on.
That's fantastic.
You look lovely. I love your hair. I love your outfit.
Yes, this is my grandson, Tristan.
Your grandson.
Yeah.
You don't look old enough to have a grandchild.
Yeah, and Ayla.
Hi, Ayla. How are you?
And my husband, Jeremy.
It's nice to meet you, Jeremy.
Marine Corps.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir. All right. Well, thank you so much for helping putting this on.
You guys are amazing.
Thank you.
I'm watching you guys. I knew you were. I saw the berets. I was like, oh.
That's fantastic. Say hi to everyone. There's another Resistance Chick fan there. That's
Resistance Chick. Subscribe to their channel.
Thank you so much.
You're awesome and well done again.
Thank you.
You did good. Very inspiring.
Yes, very inspiring.
But I was like, I gotta speak. I think I do better on the fly, writing things down.
I did very well.
Get nervous.
I know. Oh, I know. And there were so many people here. Were there more people here than you expected?
Oh my gosh, yes. It was beautiful. Looking out, seeing all just a beautiful sight. I'm so glad, and it was a great event.
You're surrounded by all these guns, but did you feel any danger? Did you feel safe?
I felt very safe. Very safe than I am just walking down the streets of Columbus by myself.
You have. That's amazing.
She's good. She loves her ARs. They like ARs more than they like their handguns.
iPads and everything.
More than the iPads.
Hashtag winning.
The whole night. Then do anything else.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Well, you guys are doing it right then.
You're doing a good job.
Last time I was there, I shot zombie posters. So that was quite fun.
There you go.
Yeah.
That is
And
fantastic.
she's very good. She gets headshots. She's excellent. They are.
3 times in a row.
Wow.
Yeah.
You are killing it.
Awesome. Training them right.
Exactly.
I'm trying to shoot one of Bevel's big guns, but I was like, no, I'm not gonna try and shoot myself in the head when it deflects at my head.
You want to get a little bit bigger?
That's not happening.
You know what? A
I'm not
healthy
getting
fear is a
shot
good
in the
thing.
head by my
They get excited about
gun.
shooting.
Give me a big gun. I accidentally shoot myself and make it deflect.
Well, we don't do that though. We are always supervised. Only at
It's good to have a healthy fear of guns. It's
Absolutely.
good. It's very good. I do too. I do too. I'm the gun Nazi. Is it unloaded? Are you sure? Check 5 times before we put it away.
Yes.
Thank
you so much.
Thank you guys.
You have a good fight.
Thank you. Are we out? Are we gone? Okay. We're almost out of juice, guys. So we're gonna see if we can get a few more interviews here before we lose our live stream. All right. Hi there. Thank you. Would you like to be interviewed for our YouTube channel?
I don't mind.
Okay. Can you give us your name?
My name is Christopher Curley, Curley.
All right. And what brought you out here today?
Well, believe it or not, I was at the state Supreme Court building earlier today. I'm in law school.
Okay.
And at the end of my second year, and I was doing some pro bono work over there. And I just happened to be driving by and seen a lot of people with guns.
You just so happened to be driving by. Okay.
You know, well, the Supreme Court building is just one block over, so I was actually going to go home, but then I said, I see my people.
I see my people.
So I said, I seen guns, and there's nothing better to me than a cup of coffee in the morning and the smell of gunpowder.
Right.
I spent 29 years in the U.S. Army.
Well, thank you for your service.
It was an honor to serve, and I believe in gun ownership. Just happened to have one in the truck, so I threw it on.
Well, there you go. You match.
And make sure everybody didn't think I was, some snowflake. But this is good that we can assemble peacefully and show our support for the Second Amendment, which is probably the single most greatest amendment that has ever been thought of, by man. And it's lasted this long, and it's going to continue to last. There are certain things that I think maybe, like I'm one of those that it can be middle of the ground. I do believe maybe bump stocks need to go away. I don't see any lawful, legal purpose to have a bump stock. But
and they're not very accurate, from what I understand.
And I know, haven't been in the Army, and full auto is never recommended. So, but other than that, I have toys that, I have probably more guns than what I need, but not enough.
Right.
And I have a nice gun safe at home, and my kids, I've taught them about guns, and we go to the range, and they understand my viewpoint on it. And you're not going to leave your house unlocked. Right. And let anybody just walk in, and that's the whole point. Is I think it's not so much that we need to rise up against our government. It's that we need to be able to protect ourselves and our families, and help our country out if there's ever. We haven't been invaded on our soil here, and maybe there's a reason for that.
Maybe there is a reason for that.
That's right.
How many lives have been lost to communism and fascism by taking away the guns first?
Yeah, a lot. And now. Part of that, though, is that there were already gun laws in those societies that you're mentioning, and also on top of that, those societies weren't really democracies to begin with. So,
Very good point.
they were dictatorships for the most part to begin with.
Right.
But they did have gun laws, and that's kind of how it started out. So. We really need to be careful about the laws that we pass and what we do. And our legislators need to know that there are two sides to the fence. And, the knee-jerk reaction, they need to really think about things and not do these knee-jerk laws that they tend to want to do.
Exactly.
Oh, I got to please somebody. I better pass something. I don't believe in that. But I believe that our country is equally divided right now. It is sad. We have a president right now who's uniting our country and trying to unite it, but we have a lot of resistance. He's probably the single president in our history that's met so much resistance. It's unbelievable.
Amazing, isn't it?
No matter what he does, even if he does the best thing in the world, they're going to say something negative about it. And
If
it's a
the
shame.
economy grows, or if he denuclearizes North Korea, they still don't know what to do about it.
That's correct. They think at first he was being too crazy with North Korea. Now he shouldn't be meeting with him, and and now he's backtracking because he said they have to do some things before he meets with them. I mean, no matter what this guy does, but and I've served for,